welcome to part one of our bathroom renovation. This is Max. We have been doing the bathroom renovation together and we decided to split it up into a couple parts because we only kept the mirror and the bathtub. So it's been a long renovation. I think it's been like 4 months-ish.
Probably about 4.
And today we're gonna take you through part one. We have zero experience, so also a disclaimer that if you see anything that looks like it's the incorrect way, it could be very well. Our first thing that we did was removing the wallpaper, and I'm pretty sure the wallpaper's been on the bathroom this entire time that the house has been here.
I think so.
So our house was built in 1941 and I'm pretty sure that the wallpaper was original. So we had to scrape it off. We used
like a flat razor blade.
Yes, we used a flat razor blade to scrape the first layer of the wallpaper off, and then we used a wet sponge and went over the top of that, and that's how it came off the easiest. We've heard that you could use a steamer or, you know, other methods, but honestly that method worked pretty well, I thought.
Yeah, it was a 2-person job.
It took like 3 to 4 hours, I would say, probably closer to 4.
Yeah.
But if you turn on some music and I don't know, just be patient, it really was not that terrible. In like all the things we've done so far, that was probably one of the most enjoyable things.
Yeah, it was pretty satisfying, I thought.
Yeah. Once we got the wallpaper off, the wall was pink. We later found out that it was drywall, plaster, and another layer of something. So the wall was like super, super thick. So that was really fun to demo and cut through. And then we removed the built-in toilet paper holder that was originally there because it was just like too far away from everything. Yeah. So my dad ended up coming over and putting a piece of drywall in, and then we had to plaster over the top and smooth it out. So that took a little bit, but then we got impatient. Well, I did. I was sick of plastering over that thing a million times, so we were just like, okay, we're ready to paint. Then after we got the wallpaper off, we took out the toilet and the sink. I should say you did, so if you want to speak on the process.
Yeah, drain the toilet water, flush it as many times until you could stop scooping it out, and then get a sponge. Get the rest of the water out.
Yeah.
Toilet went outside, same with the sink.
Yeah, we replaced the old toilet because it was really water inefficient. It would flush a lot of water down and it was kind of ugly. So we found one at Restore in town and it ended up having a crack in it, right?
Yeah, in the tank it was.
Yes. So we had to go find another toilet, and thankfully my cousin just had one sitting around in his basement. So yeah, we bought his toilet.
Brand new one.
Yeah, a brand new one. So we bought his toilet off of him, and that went a lot smoother for install. In the Vanity, we got it from like Bed Bath & Beyond online, and we only had like a certain amount of space that we could have for the width of the Vanity because it's a smaller bathroom. And neither of us liked the ones that were just like straight on, like the one door. And so then we stumbled upon the one we have now, which has like a shelving system on the side. And honestly, I think it makes it look a lot bigger.
Yeah, I agree. It's a nice one.
Yeah, and it just looks, I don't know, a little more interesting. And it's kind of a mix between like a gray and brown, like it's an in-between neutral color. We tried to stay away as much as possible despite what it may look like. We tried to stay away from gray as much as possible because the rest of our house is very brown and like medium wood tones, so I didn't want it to be like super stark when you walked in.
Yeah.
So that's why we didn't go with like a lot of gray. We went with mostly bronze and kind of like sandy tan color.
Yeah.
Although it comes off kind of gray in some of the pictures. After the toilet and the sink, we had to rip up the old floor, which was kind of coming up anyway at that point.
Yeah, there's some sections, little corners were ripping up.
It was pretty thin, but the glue was on another level. So it was kind of similar to the wallpaper, I think, where we had to rip off like the surface layer, and then there was like a glue layer. And then it was interesting because once we got like all the way underneath, it kind of looked like there was hardwood.
There definitely was hardwood.
Definitely was. Max says definitely. So yeah, but at that point, it was just like, we weren't gonna be able to save it anyway. And I think we had already bought the tile and we already had our plan. There was a bunch of like glue all over it anyway, so it just would have been like a pain. But yeah, ripping up the floor was a lot less enjoyable than the wallpaper because you're just like hunched over, and I think we had to take like a flathead screwdriver and
with a
hammer
get some of it off. Yeah.
That's like mostly how it came off. Max did a lot of the floor, which I'm very thankful for. It got done eventually, but it definitely was not pleasant. No, glad it's done. Then we painted the walls, which is where I had my first mental breakdown of the project.
Yeah, you did.
So we painted the walls the same color as our bedroom, which is kind of, again, like the Vanity. It's like an in-between. Like it's a grayish, but also a little bit of tan. In some lights it can look pretty gray, and then in other lights it can look more on the tan side. So we had to put texture into the paint since there was no texture currently on the wall from the wallpaper being up. So we used a sand additive, and I had never used that before, neither had Max. And so it was interesting when we first were rolling it on. It was like a little bit scary. I later found out that you should really just like go all over the place the first time and then go back and go over again. It's, I don't know, like I was rolling in one spot and then like a whole clump of sand was right there.
Yeah.
So that one side of the wall looked a little off, but there's gonna be a shelf there eventually with like towel hooks. But we did eventually kind of get the hang of things, I think.
Second coat really helped.
Yes, we did the first coat with sand and the second coat with no sand, so that was really helpful. We also ripped off all of the old trim because it just kind of had to go. It was pretty bad. We kept the door trim though. That was one thing we did keep, so we kind of just had to like pry it off the wall carefully, but the actual like baseboard trim had to go.
Yeah, it was time for new trim.
Yeah. So we had taken the old light out when we were painting, and we were gonna get a new light, but we hadn't hooked it up yet because here we have a fuse box, and we were a little concerned like the fuse wouldn't turn right away. It was kind of stuck, so we didn't want to screw something up and then not have power. So we waited to put the light back in, so we didn't have any light in there. So we had to bring one of our living room lamps into the bathroom, and these were lamps that were left here by the previous owner, and the previous owner lived here for a long time, and then even before that it was his mom's place. And you know, this bathroom was like pretty original from what we could see. So we're like redoing all this stuff in there, and I'm already feeling like kind of uncomfortable about it. And then the lamp falls into the tray of paint.
Yeah.
And I lost it. I was just bawling. Max was like, it's okay, we can clean it off, it's fine. And of course I was like a little concerned about the lamp, like, you know, if we screwed it up, but it was like a deeper meaning. We kept the mirror that is also a medicine cabinet, and ended up, we just took like the mirror portion off and I painted the back of it the same color as the wall, and then we painted like the inside built-in shelving area the same color as the wall too. Then it was time to tile the floor, and we had decided on this large format tile, and I had watched a couple videos on tiling, but I don't think either of us, you haven't, right?
A little tiny bit, not a lot.
Neither of us have tiled before, so we were just like, let's just go, you know? I'm glad we had YouTube and friends and family, because it was definitely helpful to have advice from them. First, after we had the whole floor ripped up, we had to seal it with a primer. I think it was just like a Kills primer meant for like, you know, it was like mold, mildew resistant. We just went to Menards and someone helped us pick it out. So that was a roll-on thing. That was pretty easy. And then we had to mix up some thin set, and then we put the thin set down, and then we got like a membrane. We had to get this uncoupling membrane. We had heard of the Schluter membranes, but we couldn't find it anywhere. And so then we just had to get a different one, but it was essentially the same thing. It's just supposed to be like if the floor moves, then your tile isn't gonna move and crack. So we had to put that down on top of the mortar, and then we had to put more mortar on that in order to tile. But before we did that, we laid out all of our tiles and cut them, which I think was a very smart step.
That saved us a lot of time.
Never having tiled before, we definitely needed to do that. This is for Marissa's future reference. We started doing the fitting around 2 p.m. and it is now almost 8 p.m. We thought we were going to tile tonight, but we were clearly kidding ourselves. I forget exactly how much we offset them by, but we offset each tile by a certain amount. It kind of looks like it's like a third or a fourth. It definitely wasn't a third. Yeah, it definitely wasn't like a halfway point or anything like that. So yeah, Max cut all the tiles with the diamond blade, pretty sure. So what kind of saw did you use?
The circular saw.
The circular saw. And I was there for moral support. And writing down measurements and spraying the saw for dust.
We pretty much ended up stopping doing that.
Yeah, then we stopped doing that. Max felt bad about getting dust all over the neighborhood, but yeah, I mean, we tried, but Asta was our lead supervisor for the project. She always made sure that we were doing things correctly. Always there to watch. The only thing was, once we started laying the tile, I made sure we like squeezed them really close together on the spacers. I think we used 1/4 inch spacers for the floor. Once we grouted, that honestly makes a huge difference. Once you get to the grout, I just feel like it really pulled everything together and it kind of hid any imperfections that there might have been. Another thing we did do with the tile, which was super helpful, was we placed them all where they were needing to go, and we didn't have the mud down yet, and then we took painter's tape and we numbered them so that we remembered exactly which one went where.
Yeah.
That was very helpful. So I would highly recommend that if you are planning on tiling a floor soon and you are cutting first and then going back and laying them.
Yeah.
We just went to the trim section in Menards and we found a thin round piece that matched the color of our floors, and we ended up just using the nail gun.
Yeah, I used a nail gun.
And nailing it down in front of the metal piece, so that helped it look a lot more finished. Alright, well that is pretty much everything for this first part of our bathroom renovation. Stick around and come back for part 2.